or put it in the Q&A window so that we can take up the questions accordingly. We are also live on YouTube. All the comments which are there, I think Zaki is monitoring the YouTube comments, and if anything from their side, Zaki, you can put it up in the chat window and we can accordingly take it up with Rajiv sir. Over to you, Sangeeta. Thank you so much, Rajiv sir, for joining in.
Pleasure.
I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our speaker, Mr. Rajiv Puri, and also thank each and every one of you for being here with us today for webinar on nature and scope of internal audit. Mr. Rajiv is currently working as Head Risk and Internal Audit at Fortis Healthcare Limited. He is a qualified CMA with over 20 years of experience in risk and internal audit domain. Prior to that, he has worked with risk and advisory practice of consulting firms like EY, Grant Thornton, and S&P. So I will speak on the topic for about 30 to 35 minutes. Meanwhile, you guys can put your questions in the chat box, or you can even raise your hands and we'll take your questions up. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule. Now I'd like you to take over the webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sangeeta. And thanks, Shripal and your team for extending this invite. I am delighted to be part of your initiative, and I hope this session will add value and will be of interest to all the participants. There are few caveats and few things that I wanted to clarify before we start. What I understood from Shripal and from Sangeeta, that the participants are from varied experience and background. Few of you have experience of from 10 to 15 years, and few of you are starting off. So, keeping this vast group with varied competencies and experience, I have kept this session a little broad-based to make sure that it is of interest to all of you, and you find this useful in not only in the academic and the technical aspects, but also in your work as an internal auditor. Many of you, which what I understand, are professional internal auditors with varied role. Also, Shripal, with your permission, I would like to change the construct of this session, because frankly, I like these sessions to be very interactive, and when you are doing this physically, it is far more easier to interact and to engage. While these online web-based sessions have given us opportunity to actually connect with wider audience and have a wider reach, but it restrict the interactiveness of the entire session. So while you had planned this to have the question answer at the end, if you are okay, I would would like to extend and open this to be fully interactive. Whenever any of the participants wish to ask any question and stop me in between, they can do it, and I'm absolutely fine with that, because that will help me calibrate the messaging and the conversation also to the need of the participants. Otherwise, in web, on a lighter note, with your video off, you really don't know whether you're actually listening or just logging in. So, okay, so if you are okay with that, then I think we can let participant raise hands and ask questions, either type in or even they can unmute and ask in person also. I'm absolutely fine with that, and I would actually like it better that way. Okay. as I was saying, this topic is quite vast, which I was given, which is the nature and scope of internal audit. And so what I have done is I have kept this at a meta level, where to not only touch on the technical aspects, but also to talk more about the person who is actually doing the audit. Who is this person, and what are the expectations and the traits that are demanded today from the internal auditor? I'm sure all of you are technically competent and learning the aspects of the internal audit, and we will briefly touch upon them. But I've kept this more on the auditor behind the audit, and what he needs to be looking at, and what kind of attributes and skills and competencies that he needs to have to be an effective internal auditor. That's okay. Because also, of late, many of you are actually, in fact, most of you are must be hearing these buzzwords of AI, robotics, data analytics. And all of these are important and are changing the landscape and how audit is being done and what audit will be done. But this also is bringing the fundamentals back into its limelight, and that's why you will see the title of my presentation is Back to the Future. I don't know how many of you have actually seen this movie, which had 3 installments, and it was about going back and forth into past and the future to deal with the storyline. But the point is that as we are moving more into automated operating business environment and consequent audit environment, the fundamentals of how and what we audit and what we as a auditor represent becomes all the more important and relevant. And it's, in some sense, it is going back to the basics of or going back to the past from where the internal audit all started, of focusing on the core traits of an auditor. Okay. So very briefly, I wanted to touch upon the standards of internal audit, which are prescribed under IIA, which is the Institute of Internal Auditor. Many of you are qualified CIA or actually pursuing CIA, and you would be very familiar with them. The very fundamental thing that is defined by IA is the mission of internal audit. And here I would like you to stress upon the specific aspects of what the Institute of Internal Auditor, which is the apex body worldwide promoting and educating people about internal audit, stress upon. Now, these are very, very important and critical aspects. And if you will see, none of them actually talk about the technical aspects of doing audit. It is about what you do rather than how you're doing it. It is about the traits of the auditor rather than of the technical aspects of the audit. And as we go along, I will talk about these aspects in a slightly greater detail. But all of these have deeper meaning. When you talk about objective assurance, what does it mean? What is the objectivity one is talking about here? We all understand assurance pretty well, which is in the control space. Similarly, what do you mean? What does the meaning behind insight or enhance? And most of these at times are actually overlooked in the journey of being an internal auditor, and focuses pretty much on the technical aspects of how to do the audit, how to validate the controls, and to conduct our audit procedures. Similarly, I'm sure most of you will be aware and pretty conversant with the definition of the internal audit as defined by the Institute of Internal Auditors, which again talks about similar aspects what they talk about in the mission of about being independent, objective assurance, adding value, systematic approach. Here you are getting about some aspects of the technical nature of how to do the audit, and effectiveness of the risk management, control, and governance process. Now, most of us, most of the time, I won't say most of us, but most of the time, the focus is on the control. Effectiveness of the risk management as a process or as a activity is somewhere considered and intuitively or explicitly being looked at. But the third element of the governance process many times is not given due importance. Now, when you're talking about governance process, is not just about the review or the monitoring, but also looking at the aspects of the task done by the people who are charged with governance, which not only include the operating management leadership, which is your CEO, CFO, but at times the members of the board also. Now, that puts the auditor in a fairly, I would say, strong position, and at times this role is not well understood by the auditors, and it also has a relevance to the various attributes that the auditor needs to have, which we'll talk about in the subsequent slides as we go along. Now, the other important aspect which I wanted to touch upon, again, which is very often overlooked, is the ethics, the code of ethics defined by the IAA, and it talks about 4 codes. First and the foremost, which is the most critical, is the integrity. And here, I would like you to focus on 2 or 3 words. Is the auditor should establish trust, which provides the basis for reliance. So trust becomes the key word here, which really embodies and put auditor in a very formidable position, who needs to have not only the technical competence but also to have the courage and the values to do the right thing. And that is why this is the ethic number 1 as per the IA in terms of the integrity. And here integrity even extend to your own personal integrity as to who you are and what you represent. And to me, as an internal auditor, this is one of very, very important traits that one needs to look at and guard against. Second is objectivity, which most of you will be very familiar with, and this this talks about how we do our procedure. We have to be very professional, very very professional in how we conduct our audit. We have to look at all facts and so on and so forth. So fairly well understood and recognized and exercise as well. Uh, but couple of points where you need to focus on. One is the balance assessment, and these talk. What is not written here is not having any kind of conscious or unconscious bias, or not being objective about the considering both sides of the story in the overall assessment. And the second keyword is the influenced, either by my own interest or my own beliefs. Uh, you may not realize, but your own influences, whether it is cultural or your what you believe in, uh, many times influence the way we think, and it also get manifested in how we conclude many facts, or the way we interpret a lot of facts. So we need to be kind of be self-critic, to even question, am I assessing it right, and not getting subsumed or influenced by my own biases in evaluating or doing my assessment. Third piece, which is again very well understood, is of the having maturity to make keep the things confidential, not have being shared either on the social media, or sharing the facts uh, without having with due authority, or with the people who are not supposed to know. Now, I find very difficult to understand. A lot of times I see a lot of people posting check-ins either in a client uh, factory premises, or their office locations, or their their other sites on social media. Now, uh, I don't think that is a right thing to do. As a uh, as a professional, you need to maintain full confidentiality of what you're doing, and the work that you're doing, for either for your own company as an internal auditor, or as a client if you are providing those services. So having meeting with the CEO or CFO on anything, uh, we are very social media friendly, and we are getting more and more tuned to that. But one needs to guard against the privacy angle to it. Fourth is about competency, where the auditor needs to have the right skills, right experience, and knowledge to conduct the audit. And CI degree is one, gold standard in reflecting that competency that one can have, and that gives the kind of a certificate and a license to which reflects your knowledge and your competency. Uh, these are the core principles. What the IA professional practice standards prescribe for. And many of these are actually influenced or been derived from the definition, mission, or the code of ethics that one has. But if one was to, look at a few of them, while we've talked about integrity, competence, and being objective and independent, when one talks about aligns with strategies, objective, and the risk of the organization, uh, this tantamounts to understanding the business. And in my experience, what I've uh, noticed is that many a times the auditors, we audit, we audit controls, we audit process without having context or understanding of what needs to be audited and what is the business and the associated risk are, which does not do the justice to the expectation that the role as an internal auditor we are assigned to. If we don't understand the business, we can never be an auditor. Forget being an auditor. You cannot be contribute to the benefit of the organization, and one needs to keep that in mind. The other very important aspect, but not again given due attention, is the positioning of the auditor. Now, historically, auditor was somebody who was confined to a lower, hierarchy, often being part of the finance team, looking more at transaction and just a doer. But that uh, is not what IA has in mind, or they think that's the right positioning. And over the years, even in the Indian context, that has changed significantly, where IA today has been given that stature and that position, which is recognized by the board and is actually has a seat on the table. But it is still a journey that we as a profession and as a function that we have to travel. We haven't reached the optimal space. I'm saying more from Indian context, but definitely it's a significant improvement from what I have seen probably 20, 30 years ago. And it's very encouraging that today internal auditor is recognized as a very key position in the organization, and internal auditor as a professional is given due credit in the hierarchy of the organization. The other important principle is of the quality and continuous improvement. Now, this is not about the improvement of the organization processes or controls. This is about self improvement. So, what it actually mandate the internal auditor to be self-critic, to have a continuous learning program for oneself, to adapt and acquire those skills and competencies to be relevant in the changing business context. Because you all will understand and will recognize that as an auditor, we need to be aware and have knowledge of each and every aspect of business, internally as well externally. So if there are external circumstances and environment and environmental factors are changing, and those having influence on the risk that the organization has, I, as an auditor, needs to not only be aware of it, but also have a deeper understanding of what those risks are. For example, today, data privacy, cyber security has become a immense risk. Now, uh, many of us may not be IT auditor or have technical proficiency or competence to be an auditor, IT auditor. But I need to understand what cybersecurity risks mean and what kind of mitigation protocols and policies and procedures the organization need to have uh, to be able to help and assist the organization to guard against that risk. I need to be aware of what can go wrong. Otherwise, I will not be relevant to the organization for the areas which are new, which are emerging, which are becoming significant. Other very important and often, uh, again, not given due credit is the next principle of auditor which communicates effectively. Now, uh, to my dismay, I see this one particular aspect, uh, fairly overlooked, and many times auditors not are falling short on this because please understand, most of the time it doesn't matter what you are saying, but it matters significantly how you are saying it, to whom you are saying it, and where are you saying it. And as an auditor, we need to recognize these aspects. We need to learn to communicate effectively. Uh, and I have few points in my uh, this presentation going forward, where I will talk about as to what are the aspects and where are the specific point in our journey as an auditor that we need to be aware of these aspects. The other emerging from the mission and the definition of the audit, where you have to be proactive and being able to add value to the organization, becomes very, very important. uh, Again, insightful is another principle which is does not is not understood very well, and it's not given its, again, due credit. Uh, it you know it it means that one needs to have deeper understanding, and it's actually linked to the alignment with the objectives and the strategies of the organization. That uh, once I understand what the organization plan and an overall strategy is, and hence what the risk that particular strategy brings into play, uh, I need to go deeper to understand as to how these risks can manifest in the organization, either because due to suboptimally designed processes or not having enough checks and balances. What mostly happens is that we have a very cookie cutter approach to an audit, where we are our audit work is at times not linked to the strategy and the risk associated with the business. Please understand, RCM is a guide, is a tool, uh, not the be all and end all of an audit engagement. uh, RCM most of the time is control focus rather than business focus. And please, when you are looking at audit, also look at business lens in addition to the control lens. I'm nowhere saying that one has to take away the control lens, but the business lens, understanding the business, because if you're assessing and control, you need to understand the environment in which it is being assessed. Because again, many of you may agree that we are guilty, and we may not be guilty, but at least we are accused of promoting excessive control. Now, in many situations, it may be right what auditee says, that you are unnecessarily increasing the control and hence slowing down the business, which may have a merit, and one needs to assess, because one also needs to understand that control has a cost attached to it. And the cost of control is often not captured or evaluated or monitored. So one needs to guard against, and if one understands the business, then you can have a very objective conversation with the management, with the auditee, with the process owner, as to why this control is actually a facilitator rather than impediment. Because what is the fundamental objective of the control? Now, I will give you one analogy. What is the purpose of a brake in a car? I don't know if we can have answers from the people and they can be shared. If Shepal, if it's fine, I can take a pause for 10 seconds and wait for somebody to.
Sir, actually, there are some people who have raised hands, sir. If you permit, I'll just unmute.
Sure, absolutely.
Rashmi, go ahead. Rashmi, you are unmuted. Can you go ahead?
Hello.
Yeah, Rashmi, we are able to hear you.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
Sir, could you please repeat the question?
My question was, what is the purpose of brake in a automobile?
Sorry, sir.
Okay, I think I'll just unmute Surajit. Surajit, you have raised hand. If you can, there is some disturbance at Rashmi's side.
Yeah, there's some disturbance in my backside. Just give me a moment. I'll just tell you. So the first answer to your question is mainly because so that we can control any sort of accidents in the near future or whatever it is, like mainly to control accidents. And I mainly raised hands because of the question which we are already answering right now, right, the RCM portion, because I have been into both of the roles. Like I have prepared RCMs, I have worked on it, and now I am working with an industry where I see auditors coming in and putting in various questions. So I feel oh my God, they are asking these silly questions, and they are not understanding how the industry is working.
Correct.
Maybe our control in the I'll say how we are issuing the requisitions internally from the purchase departments to other things. So now I feel the pain actually, like how the industry works and how the auditor comes in, and at the year end they'll just put in their checklist, they'll bring their risk control matrix and put in high, low, medium levels, and they'll put in their questions.
So Surajit, I'm glad that you raised your hand and you contributed and shared your views. And I think you should be a kind of spokesperson for the auditors to and actually assist them to share what actually audit should be doing. You being on the other side of the table now, I think your experience of going through that pain, if I may say it, of dealing with an auditor. Because the funny part is that we are so passionate about what we do and so self-centered, focused, technical wizards that we think that we are. that we have no consciousness of what business wants. And that, to my mind, is a bigger failure of us and as an auditor than not knowing how to audit. Because that is a skill, is a technical skill which can be acquired. I'm not saying fairly easy, but can be acquired. And people like Shirpal are helping vast majority of this younger generation to acquire those skills very effectively and in a very diligent manner. But these aspects of how you do the audit and what are the things that you need to keep focus on are the real value add which will make you a better consultant and a better professional than being a good auditor. You always need to be a good auditor, but you need to first understand the business before you get into the controls. And your answer is right. The fundamental objective of having a brake in a car is that so that it can run faster. So if you don't have brakes, you will never be able to drive the car at whatever speed you want. Because you have brakes, you know that whenever I need to stop, I can stop, and hence I can go faster. And similar is the objective of a control. It should let the business run as fast as it can, rather than slow down its pace.
Yeah, agreed, sir. Agreed.
And this is the the subtlety of the controls that we don't understand. As you very rightly put, I couldn't have put it better, that auditor is focused on his RCMs, and it's the RCM is so process focused that it at times loses its relevance to the business. Okay, Shival, time check. How are we doing?
I think we are good, sir.
We're good.
Yeah, we have one more question. Surajit, that is fine, or?
Yes, sir. I should lower my hand right now, correct? Yeah. Okay. I'll do.
No, that's not a problem. That is fine.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nitin, go ahead, please. Nitin, I've just unmuted you.
Hi, Rajiv sir. Nitin this side.
Hi, Nitin.
So actually, I'm from MNC Bank and I'm working into SOX team. So basically, what happened when we go for the testing and all, so we are considered kind of a first line of defense. So when we go for the testing, people ask how we can mitigate the risk, and we generally tell them as an advisory that you can put this control and even how you can better perform those activities.
Correct.
But when you go for the audit into the as an internal auditor, so are you guys allowed to do such kind of advisory activities? And yeah, please.
Great question, Nitin. If you would have noticed, even the IA definition talks about consulting as one of the activity, and it talks about being able to add value. So, so while you on one side it says you need to be independent, you need to demonstrate due professional care. On the other side, it said you need to be consultant. You should be able to add value. So, to a naked eye, it looks a conflicting, position to be in. And trust me, this is a dilemma which many times is faced by an auditor. And historically, it was a position which was not so well recognized in the organization, where the auditor ended up being a first line, or at best being second line of defense. And I will talk about that in subsequent slides. But I think that's another area where an auditor maturity and his ability to communicate his position effectively within the organization, and also the organization maturity to understand the role that the auditor plays and appreciate that he needs to be independent goes hand in hand. I would, in my personal view, would say that you should while you are being independent in an auditor, you should always be an input provider as to how to make the process better. And trust me, any process owner or any business owner would welcome any suggestion which makes his life easier, which makes his life better. Because see, nobody wants to be pointed out about mistakes.
Right.
And we as an auditor has this uncalled for duty to keep telling and keep pointing out mistakes. But if we can complement that by giving them suggestions and inputs, that this is something that you can consider as a probable solution to the problem that you have, will put the whole thing into a very different perspective. And that is where I was talking about the communication part, that is not given due importance. We are very straitjacketed. This is the problem that you have. This is the control failure. I am given the data that I have looked at, the exceptions that I have. This is rated high, and that is the end of the conversation that we have. Whether he agrees, he disagrees, we take his comments and we close our report. That, to my mind, is a job and a role which, as the things are moving, will become less and less relevant. And I will talk about it. And more, the issue or the aspect of how you communicate, how you interact, how you engage with the auditor, or with the auditee, with the business, with the management, with the board, will become more and more critical. It is the insight that you bring onto the table, both from the control aspect and from the business aspect, and also from the industry or from the external factor aspect, will become far more valuable. And that is where your expertise and your views will be not only respected but also will be recognized.
Right.
And it will elevate the position of the auditor. Auditor position will not get elevated by highlighting more and more high risk points. His position is going to get elevated by what value he brings onto the table, how he's making the organization better. And that has to happen through the input provider's role that one has to have. I hope I have answered this to your satisfaction.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. Okay, this is, we were talking about competency, and as recently, I think last week or a week before that, IA has released this competency framework, which has four broad components. And if you guys have not already looked at it, I will encourage all of you to please go through this. It's a short document. It's not a very lengthy document, but it has four broad pillars. One is of the professionalism, which is talking about the technical skills. Then how do you perform? What kind of activities that you perform as part of the audit, whether it is fraud assessment or internal control assessment or the audit activities. Then how you are relevant to the environment in which you're working. What are the business and the organizational risks and the operating environment. And fourth is the leadership and communication, which we were just discussing as to what is the role that we need to play in uplifting the organization business performance. Okay. As IA has its own standard framework, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICA, also has released IA standards. Many of you may have looked at it. It kind of has high influence from how the IA standards and the definition is defined. And if you will see that it talks about most of the things which are similar. Even the principles, if you see, are more or less similar. There are few changes which ICAI has done, but I think that is more in context of the local environment than anything else. And it also has, if I recall, as last they have released standards up to 300, 400 series. And I think standards from 500 onward series will be released shortly. There is a huge working group which is working continuously on these standards, and are making it available to the internal community. This is the first time that the Institute of Chartered Accountants has actually done this comprehensive exercise. They had done this kind of exercise, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. But this is a much revised and upgraded version which they have come out with. There, when I was saying that the principles are more or less same, there are few additional elements which the Institute of Chartered Accountants have brought in. While if you see independence, objectivity, professional care, confidentiality, skill competence, more of them are same. This one, if you see, is the system and the process focus. So which one can align to having understanding of the business. And the other one, which is the additional one, is sensitive to the multiple stakeholders' interest. Now, one needs to understand who are my stakeholders. And again, Shirpal, if it's okay, we can take maybe 10-20-second pause for people to either talk or respond through chat box on what they think about who all are the stakeholders that internal auditor has, whose interest they need to focus on.
Yes, guys, please answer.
Rajiv sir, can you repeat your question?
My question: who all do you think are the stakeholders that the internal auditor needs to be aware of?
So I think Radhika is telling management, Madhu is telling shareholders, Deepak management, Surajit directors, Meeta investors, Rashmi board, Nitesh management again, Surajit management, Ashwin board of directors, Hiral shareholders and management, Deepak audit committee, Madhu regulators.
Wide variety.
Sabira with shareholders. And I think Naga investors, creditors and board of directors. So Naga have added everything actually, whatever is possible. Sanket shareholders.
So, if I were to say all of them are right, because all of these are my stakeholders. So let's look at it. Who all are the stakeholders that I have? First and foremost are my auditees, with whom I'm actually auditing, whose business I'm reviewing, to whom I'm giving my audit report or my inputs to the improvement. Second is my operating management, to whom I report, which is basically will be my CEO and the business leadership. Now, while we are talking about each level of stakeholder, if you look at each stakeholder will have its own objective and its own expectation in mind. Process owner expectation would be one, to kind of validate and give a report card to his bosses, because whether we like it or not, we auditors are kind of examiners who are giving a report card to their bosses, which is the CEO, and how good or bad this function is doing. So they want a validation to go back to the management, and hence you would have also seen or experienced this in while doing audits, that process owners will all often they will say, don't only say what I have not done right, but also says what I have done right. Talk about that also, because he is looking for that to be said from the auditor, because please recognize and please appreciate that whatever auditor says has a lot of value in the eyes of the management and in the eyes of the board. So if you say that this part of the process or this part of the function or these controls are working effectively, it carries a lot of weight, trust me. And there's a lot of reliance that is placed on what we say. And so one has to be careful also on what we're saying, but the process owner will always want that to be validated and to be amplified. Operating management, when we're talking about CEO, he's looking for assurance. The people, my business has been done right. There are no exceptions. Compliance to the processes, regulations, and everything is working fine. Now here, I will also bring in the transformation which is happening, or the journey that the auditor or the audit function is going through. Slowly, that was the historical, assurance and compliance, what he was looking for. But now, as the auditor or audit function position is getting more and more mature and elevated, he is also looking at business, solution, business improvement. He's looking at cost efficiency. He's looking at process efficiency. These are the derivative expectations which are getting now from the auditor, that don't just be a compliance or a control professional, be a business solution provider. Now, again, that is the role of an input, that this is your view as to what change can be done. Ultimately, it has to be owned by the business and by the management. But because as an auditor, we go quite deep into a particular function, and as I was saying, that our position is of an independent assessor, our views are given that due importance of being objective, being independent, and hence will has a greater value in the eyes of the management or with the board. Because next is my board and audit committee, who is my stakeholder. By and large, their focus is again on assurance and compliance. Tell me things are fine. If there are any exceptions, please notify us. Shareholders, many of you actually pointed to that. Their expectation is more from the governance, and hence value being created for the shareholders. Shareholders looking for a value. And if the business is run efficiently, effectively, the shareholder value will go up. And while they will not be immediately looking at your report, but their expectation is that the business is governed in a right manner, and there are enough checks and balances, and the processes are efficient, and they have a audit function who is reviewing and taking care of that aspect. Regulators, their focus is more from a compliance, regulatory compliance. If there is any kind of a regulatory non-compliance, they need to be notified, and they have an expectation. Now here also, similar to the operating management or to the shareholders, they also have expectation to be notified if there is any kind of a business proprietary issue. While from a process standpoint, everything has been done rightly, but somebody has siphoned off the money. Somebody has conducted an unethical practice or an unethical business. As an auditor, I need to be not only identify that, but also notify through the requisite channels, which is management and board, and then to regulator. But regulator is looking at that as a value add for me. Now, who else? Society. Why you think society is a stakeholder? And I'm talking about society at large. They may not be directly looking at my report or have anything to do with the business that I'm auditing or the company that I'm auditing, but somewhere the way I as an auditor manifest and kind of advocate good governance in the conduct of the business, as well as the people who are running the business, the society at large get good governance and good businesses who are profitable, who are doing and believing in doing the right things. So the overall ethical fabric of the society enhances. And this may be very subtle, may not be so direct, but this is something which is getting recognized. In fact, if you look at the ESG standards and the expectations, which is the environmental, society, and social and governance, from an environmental aspect, if there are certain norms which are not being managed by the organization in a rightful manner, let's say by not having the pollution control board certification or a discharge of effluents into the water resources, then society expect auditors to flag this off. And that is where our role in a larger context is also very, very important. Now, in their respective silos, as we discussed, their expectations might be varied. But if one was to expand the time horizon, somewhere the expectations of all these stakeholders will align to fundamental points of good governance, good business practices, and ethical conduct. I think that's where one needs to always keep the bigger picture in play as we as internal auditors look at what I'm auditing and why I'm auditing, and what is the expectations that my stakeholders will have. Again, I'm just checking, doing a time check. Shripal, we are doing fine.
Yes, sir. I think we are fine. So they
Okay.
have. I think
Any questions right now?
yes, we do have three. One is from Naga. In case of a distributed work environment, due to so many change management decisions causing chaos among the employees, being an internal auditor, what is the best way one can handle this kind of situation to perform the audit effectively?
Sorry, Shripal, I have not understood the question.
So in case of a not distributed, I'm sorry, in case of a disturbed work environment due to so many change management decisions causing chaos among the employees, being an internal auditor, what is the best way one can handle this kind of situation to perform the audit effectively?
Okay. So, I would approach this situation differently. And what, let me first articulate as to what I understood, that in an organization, there are too many changes being done. Either the way the business is done, or certain decisions are being changed, or there are many structural or, process level changes being, instituted in the organization, and it is creating chaos and confusion in the company. And the auditor is in flux as to what to do. Now, let me, give you a meta answer for this. I would, and this will also manifest, kind of reflect on the point that I was making earlier as to of what role we need to play in a larger context, in terms of communication, in terms of the value that we bring onto the table. As an auditor, we need to have a conversation with the senior most leadership in the company as to what is the direction in which these changes are being done, and why these changes are being done, and what kind of impact it is having on the culture and on the mindset of the people, and on the business process environment, on the roles and responsibilities of people. On people are not even clear as to what role they have to play, what they are accountable for, what is their responsibility, how one can, with ever-changing business environment, how my process and control environment has not kept adapt to it. My my delegation of authority, my SOD, all have gone haywire because of these intuitive or explicit changes which have been done so often. So I would rather say that stop audit. Let's first fix this. Let's in terms of the direction in which these changes are being done, and why, and what kind of impact it is having at a organization level. Well, this kind of conversation has nothing to do with audit or of a particular process or an activity. This is about setting the tone and overall governance in the organization. And that, to me, is a far bigger role that internal auditor needs to play today, which we are not playing to that efficiency or to that effectiveness. It also depends on the culture and the environment in the organization. But my meta answer to this will be, given what facts that I heard, my answer will be this.
So one more question is from Sumit before I pick up Amit's question. Sir, internal auditor have vast access to all area of business, especially all support function. So we see them as part of process improvement in the department, especially if we have internal audit team within the company.
No, so the question is,
do we see them as part of process improvement in the department, especially if we have internal audit team within the company?
No, see, that is a kind of an ancillary benefit that the auditor needs, the audit function needs to have, and actually provide that on a table. But their primary role is of the independent assurance provider. This value add and the process improvement is a kind of a additional product that comes out because of the inherent opportunity that the audit function has to go across the organization, find the linkages or the breakdown of those linkages, connect the dots to see where the problem is, and give a end-to-end solution to the business and to the management to fix a problem. Because many times the problem may be kind of manifesting in, let's say, supply chain, but its root cause actually is in HR, because not having enough people or not having the right set of people being deployed, or right quantity of people being deployed on ground, or the manifestation would be in, let's say, in the commercial by not having the right set of contracts being executed, or could be at legal who has not facilitated the legal terms for the business relationships or the external vendors that have been appointed. So audit function has that ability to actually cut across the various silos which exist in the organization and go across the business to find where the problem is, and then recommend as to where the fix needs to be done. What fix is the input providing activity which the business can consider and then suitably adapt for implementation. So they play a role of a process improvement, but they cannot be called a process improvement because that is the second line, which I will talk about in the subsequent slide. My primary role is of a third line of an independent assurance function, and I cannot in any way compromise that. That is the litmus test. If anything that I'm doing is compromising on that activity or that particular attribute, then that is something that I need to guard against.
So I think Nitin have raised hands. Nitin, please go ahead.
Hi. So actually, I was asking, in this pandemic situation, like business, most of the time, like stakeholders, auditee, always know that something has gone wrong, something has not been gone right during this pandemic. So they raise the self-identified issue, as in they have already raised the issue. But when we go, like when we see that something has not gone right, and when we raise it, so they say we have already raised. So in internal audit, how do you define your scope in such a situation that you had something in scope and business is saying that we already know this has not gone right?
Great. So Nitin, let me ask you, what do you think that we should do?
So to be very honest, we ask them that we'll self do the financial impact assessment, that we do not believe that you have done the financial impact assessment right, might. So, and assess it. And then we obviously, when the things go right, when they say that the remediation of the issue has gone there, then we will retest the control or whatever the issue is. And then we'll give the statement, yes, now things are fine. Now we can do the testing and everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure most of you would be aware of the term called controlled self-assessment. This is, another aspect which
RCSAs.
Correct. That many organizations have actually implemented. In fact, this journey started almost 10-15 years back, but today it has gathered a lot of momentum and acceptance across the organization, where for the defined control environment, there is a self-assessment done by the auditee or by the business themselves. And this works as a very effective second line of defense, where there is a self audit being done. Now, in your, in the point that you made, that if the issue has already been highlighted by the business, that also reflects on the openness and the culture of the organization, which is always focused on improvement, not about fault finding. Because in an organization which is very focused on fault finding, this will never happen. Let me tell you that. This will only happen in an organization which encourages that, okay, the passenger will not be shot for bringing the bad news, but we will look at as to how this needs to be resolved. So if through the self-assessment process or otherwise, if the issue has already been flagged off, take that as an input. Do your self-validation. I agree with you that I should not completely rely on the facts being shared by the auditee themselves as to what has gone wrong. I need to do my own independent assessment to validate. But I should recognize in my communication that this is something which has been flagged off by the business themselves. We have picked it from there. We have done our own set of validations, and the solution that they have communicated to us that they have implemented, we have tested from a design point of view. We agree with the proposed process change or the control improvement which have been articulated. We will validate this 6 months down the line through a re-audit or a remediation audit or whatever you want to call it, to assess the effectiveness or the efficacy of the implemented solution. So I am not giving a green signal to, yes, process are working fine. Process have been designed, but let it be run for some period of time for me to come back and assess. This is where you are having a mature conversation within the organization. You are not us versus them kind of a conversation. This is more collaborative, more business partnership.
Right.
Without compromising on your independence. You are not validating or giving any kind of credence to what issue he highlighted or the solution that he has implemented. You have done your own assessment, but your storyline is not that, as we always write, during the course of our audit, we noted that such and such this and this thing happened. I should say that this is something which was flagged by the business. They've already notified. This got flagged maybe two months before I actually came for the audit, and this issue has already been implemented. So that will, if we do this, it will, up the stature of the audit function in the eyes of the organization, that they are not as a traditional face used to be called for auditors, bloodhound. They're not here to mark me down. They're here to help me and recognizes the things that I'm doing.
Sir, one question we have is, can internal auditor assure to each stakeholder that their asset is taken care of?
Pardon me, sorry, I didn't hear.
Officially, internal auditors answerable to management, but okay, just a second, I just lost that question. As auditor has many stakeholders, how can internal auditor assure to each stakeholder that their asset is taken off in a best manner, is taken care of in a best manner?
Okay, their interests are taken care in best manner. See, as I said, that at a given point in time, the expectations or the interests of different stakeholders may be divergent or may differ. But on a longer time scale, their interests are all the same. They want a well-governed, efficient run company, which believes in doing the right thing, have ethical practices, have a higher and a right set of values and code of conduct, and does not engage in practices or activities which are harmful to the environment, to the consumers, let's say by giving spurious products, or to the to their own vendors, employees. So, in a longer time scale, this is what everybody wants. And if as an auditor, if I am looking at business and play a lens of, is this the right thing to do? Then you see these, pieces of the puzzles will start falling into line. The operational controls will be only of the interest to the process owners or to the senior leadership, and those are easy to manage. So, but if I need to start from the bigger picture of what kind of organization that I am auditing, what are their value systems, what is the smell of the place. Let me just bring, while I had kept this for the subsequent slides, but very often we don't even, and that's another mistake that I've seen in the recent few years, getting this kind of a problem or a behavior getting seeped into the auditors, that as more and more we are relying on technology to do the audit, we are getting more and more confined to the desk or the rooms that are allocated to the auditors to do the audit. We have stopped roaming around. Go and smell the place. Go and talk to people. Go and, if you are visiting a plant or a operating location, just go around the facility. Trust me, you will find 15 to, you will find issues. I'm not giving a count, but you will find problems then and there to your observant eyes. You talk to people, and you will hear things that will tell you as to what is not right with this particular location or this particular business or this particular department. It will tell you. Unfortunately, this whole pandemic situation also put kind of brakes on us doing that. And trust me, it is not something that is desirable. We need to, and I've touched upon that in the subsequent slides, that as more and more we get dependent on technology, or we have a technology-driven audits through analytics, through robotics, through AI, the more we need to spend time talking to people. Because what that is going to do, all the analytical layer or the ERPs and the AI is going to do is to either prevent a control failure by having automated controls, automatic workflows, very disciplined process which does not allow for any exception. So there cannot be any control failure. So or if it happens, it will get flagged off right then and there through the something which is called continuous control monitoring. That if there's a control breach or exception is noted,